Je suis Marie Lalleman, je représente la société Nielsen qui suit le consommateur, les consommateurs à travers le monde, parce que s'il y a bien une chose qui est ressortie de ce débat, c'est qu'il n'y a pas une solution unique, il y a plusieurs consommateurs, plusieurs citoyens, plusieurs consommateurs qui ont des aspirations et des comportements différents. On va faire cette session en anglais, puisque nous parlons des consommateurs au niveau mondial, and I'm going to switch to English for our guests as well, to make sure that we follow the rules of this international forum. We're going to start the presentation with a short video. This video is about mega trends that we observe, structural trends that we observe in the world, and that you all know about. They've been talking about yesterday and this morning as well, in terms of where the consumers are going and where the source of growth are. So if you can run the video. Just in a snapshot to make sure that we have a summary of those mega trends, and these are facts. This is not something we extrapolate or we think is going to happen. We know this is going to happen. So the key part of this is how we make this. Can I have the? Thank you. Is how we make this, we together make sure that the needs of those future consumers are being met. What I want to talk about and make a zoom on is on the confidence of those consumers, because the confidence that they have in their economy, in their job, in their situation, is also driving the way they consume. It's not only income, obviously, this is also the cultural differences as well as the aspirations that they have. You have here an index that we follow for the last 10 years, and we have the Q1 2011 2011, 3 years ago, and classified by zone. So 100 is everybody's optimistic, and then over-optimistic is above 100, and under-optimistic is under 100. Clearly, Europe has always been down under the average of the world, which is a fact in terms of pessimism. We see Asia-Pac being at the top. But the interesting point is in the last 3 years, we've seen some progress, significant progress happening in North America, while a clear drop of positive attitudes in Middle East and Africa. Europe is progressing slowly, but surely into better ground. And that's the good news we observe since the beginning of 2014. This is slow, but there are some signs, especially from some countries, that things are getting better. Those average are hiding some strong differences, as you can expect, by countries, with India being at the top in terms of positive attitude towards the future. And Indonesia, we heard Santiago speaking about it, Indonesia being one of the leading countries. So emerging markets clearly are much more positive about their situation and their future than the rest of the countries. There is also another news that is changing, is the people believing around the world that their job position, their job prospect is being better. Why is this important? Because there is a very strong correlation between positive job attitudes and the fact and willingness to spend, willingness to consume. Clearly, this is the first time after 7 years that we are back to a level of 50% of the consumers that we observe being able to say that they are confident their job is getting better. And we went very down, as you all remember, we went very down at the very height of the recession, but because we reached only 21% of the whole population being positive about their jobs. But when we compare the job prospects and whether the countries or the consumers believe they're going to be out of recession soon, we have a very different pattern, whether we're speaking about emerging markets or more mature markets. In the case here of Europe, you'll see France, Spain, and Italy really down, both in terms of hoping to be out of recession soon and in terms of jobs prospect. Whereas you see European countries like Switzerland, Germany, and North America, knowing that recession might be still around the corner, but at the same time, seeing that jobs is not really completely the issue. And when we add some of the emerging markets in Africa, clearly India again, and Indonesia, China, and Philippines are the most optimistic, both in terms of what the job is going to be and the fact that they are out of recession or going to be out of the recession very soon. This has an influence on how people consume and how much they are willing to spend. So when we ask them the question, is it now, today, a good time to buy things that you need? Well, 39% of the global population says yes. But this is a very different picture when we accumulate what those countries that were quite pessimistic, what they think about the opportunity to spend. This is only 18% that we reach for those countries, whereas the others, the one on the right-hand side, positive about their situation and their economy, are really positive as well, that this is a good time for them to buy what they need. And it's not a question of absolute income, it's really a question of aspirations and cultural difference in terms of perception. There are many actions that we observe consumers are taking when they say they don't want to spend or this is not the good time to spend, and how they reallocate their budget. And you can see here, mainly it's on clothing, it's on out-of-home entertainment, it's also on takeaway meals. And you can think that maybe the food and the home food is being more dynamic because of that. But they also want to switch to cheaper brands when they buy. They also want to switch to promotion, to bargain, and we see that, we observe that all around the world. There is a key concern as well on utility bills and commodity that needs to be paid, like gas and electricity. It's also a major concern that goes throughout all those regions. However, when we link that to what we observe in terms of food, So we tracked everything that people buy in terms of fast-moving, so-called fast-moving consumer goods. And we see that there is a clear link between, again, those countries that are optimistic and their willingness to spend and spend more. There is a dimension of demographics that drives that as well. But when you think that the last savings that population do are on food, you can see that some countries already have been decreasing the volumes in the last couple of years. Across the globe, their concerns varies a lot, as you can expect. But there are 4 major trends that we observe are quite common. And again, job, security, and economy, even in emerging markets, is a key driver of confidence. It's a point that the global consumer really resonates for. Health is picking up, but it's more and more about a pandemic that we can hear about, so consumers start to be worried again. We see that coming up and down depending on the period and on the actuality of the world, the news of the world. And work-life balance is really, we spoke about China and the evolution. Work-life balance is something that is really picking up in China in the last couple of years as well. One theme that is also, again, across the globe, picking up, especially on emerging markets, is the conscious consumer, the consumer who cares about what he buys, about the impact of his consumption on the world, on the sustainability of our world, and on the social impact that he can have. And more, we see changes in that aspect. In 2011, only 45% of the population were saying they would favor buying goods from companies that do well. This has reached 10 more points in 2 years only. These are mega trends. This is not a small trend. And when we heard the speakers yesterday and today speaking about the human part of us and the fact that we need to bring sense in everything we do, this is exactly what's happening here. That's what the consumers are saying. They, of course, have a variety of causes that they want to defend. But we can see that each one of those causes, at least the one that comes on the top, are really strong cross-country causes that both East, West, North, South wants to fight for. And in some countries, this is even stronger. This is even on top of their mind. This has some positive consequences, if we speak about hopes, because the large corporations are getting themselves adapted. If you see here the percentage of consumers that says they will want to work for a company that gives back to society, in 2011, we had emerging markets already above 70%, and they are now even increasing. So the consumers want to work for companies that embrace the future of the planet, that take into consideration the social situation in which they are and how this needs to be improved. And you have many examples of that coming up in many countries. I just want to mention what we could say a low score, above 50, of North America and Europe. When you look at that at a disaggregated level and focus on the millennials and focus on age under 40, you see that this is the same rate as the emerging market. We are above 70% of the population, of the consumers that wants to work for companies that do goods. This is quite an encouraging sign, because they want to contribute through the way they spend money, their money. And also, large corporations are more and more making efforts into that sense. And those efforts are local, actually. Most of them are local. We're talking about a global trend that is getting localized. Even industries like retail, the #1 retailer in Europe, Carrefour, is even investing with 20,000 suppliers, local suppliers, to make sure that the diversity is provided everywhere they are. You've got banking industry that's also investing in large scope to make sure that they respect what they can give back to the society. The last point I would like to mention is focus a little bit more on the digital and the consequences of digital in terms of course, e-commerce, how this is changing the world and how this is changing the consumers' behaviors as well. You all know that now digital is making web access, whether this is, by PC or by mobile or tablets, at a very large proportion of the population. The key consequences of that is that people start to think differently, communicate differently, exchange ideas, decide differently on how they want to consume, how they want to buy things, and they get influenced. And this 73% of the population saying that they are influenced by what they read on forums, what they read on Twitters, on friends that communicate, is a pretty strong difference from what we ever had before. And this is bruising, this is changing the way people behave. Just a little zoom on Africa. Yesterday, Mr. Fitoussi, you mentioned electricity and digital. Why don't we consider digital as electricity, something that is needed by the population to make progress? And we are in the new world, and we are in the forum of the new world. And you see here that population in Africa is being able to increase, develop, think differently, work differently, access to a new world, thanks to mobile, much more than electricity in such a short time. And we have this story about the two phones in Nigeria, just like you said about Indonesia, just to cover the whole region. Mobile is an accelerator. What we want to say here is that when we speak about online shopping, the fact that you can do online shopping anywhere, anytime, for anything now, is linked to the mobility that you can take with you. It's not the mobile itself, it's the fact that you have access to web anywhere, anytime, and you have access to anything. You just have to ask in your device. And again, Middle East and Africa, they are ahead of Europe, ahead of the world. 11 points more of the shoppers over there that wants to buy online says they will be using mobile. Online purchase, is really picking up everywhere. And we see in the last 3 years, we see that most of the key categories that are being sold online are being picked up more and more by the consumers. You see quite emerging the baby supplies, and with this, other categories that are categories difficult to carry or categories that needs to be stocked. This is really a phenomenon that we observe in every country where online shopping is now available. Sorry. Just a quick look on online purchases and the difference by generation. So this is evident. We would all observe that millennials are the ones that are the most willing to shop online. Don't underconsider the Generation X, ourselves, because we are kind of also moving slowly but surely into that direction as well. But when we speak about the new world, this is where the new world is going to be. And retailers and infrastructures need also to learn how to make sure that there is a link between the physical, the brick and mortars, as well as the opening capabilities of those mobile and online purchasing possibilities. So just very quickly, key takeaways. From the video, there are some structural changes that are fueling the growth of the consumption around the world. Those changes are known, and the New World Forum is looking at solutions to make sure that we can fulfill the needs in terms of education infrastructure of those shoppers. At the same time, there is a strong impact of what the consumer life context is, both in terms of economy and job security, and that's a common theme, at least those days, around the world. The second one is corporate social responsibility. This is an emerging trend for emerging markets, of course, but also for emerging consumers. And this is a trend that is not going to go away, both in terms of choosing the product I want to buy because this product is corporate social responsible, as well as the company I want to work for. Yesterday, there was some opposition between the new technology company attracting all the young talent and the old technology company struggling to attract them. this is not really what we observe. What we observe is that more and more industry and traditional companies, corporations, are investing to attract those talents in different ways. And then the mobile and the flexibility it gives flexibility, I mean, the access to web gives flexibility for people to think differently, to connect differently, to know more, but also to decide and be influenced in different approach. And we see large corporations adapting themselves to that as well, in terms of advertising, but as well in terms of information and getting into more content of what they sell, explaining why they sell this and the goods that this is doing. This was it for a quick snapshot. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to this afternoon on Africa.